Getting plenty of views at the moment. Joined in the studio now by the analyst Olivier Guitta, who's the managing director of Global Strat. That's a geopolitical risk and security consultancy firm. Thanks for being patient and waiting here in the studio with me. A lot of credit being given to the demonstrators who've had this very peaceful protest over the last 6 weeks. Many people describing it as almost a festive feeling out on the streets. Some people are asking, will they continue? The likelihood is, isn't it, that come Friday of this week, we're going to see them out in force, possibly even in more force?
Yes, possibly, because the removal of Bouteflika doesn't mean the removal of the system, the removal of the dictatorship. And Gaid Salah, who now appears the head of the army as a hero, has also a vested interest that the system and le pouvoir keeps on ongoing, because obviously there are two things. Algeria remains a very rich country with its energy resources, but also if those people were to be removed, the corruption would come to the light, and people would not accept that. And that's one of the aspects that needs to be taken into account. Obviously, also the transition will be led by people from the regime. So how do we know that the elections are going to be free and fair in 3 months? Because in the past, they were rigged. So we're going to need a lot more time than 3 months to basically build a civil society, build an opposition in a country that has unfortunately been under the regime of a clique of people, not just Bouteflika, because he's been out of the picture since 2013, but actually 3 people were running the country. Gaid Salah, the head of the army, Saïd Bouteflika, his brother, and General Tartag, the head of the security services. We came to this point today because there was an internal infighting, not because Gaid Salah all of a sudden decides that Bouteflika is not his friend any longer, but because he has to answer to the street. But I suspect that he would be glad to become the new Bouteflika.
So he took advantage of the fact that the people were out on the street. You say that you think will take more than 3 months to have some sort of transition towards, hopefully, democratic elections. Will the protesters be prepared to wait that long? I mean, they're going to want an election date in mind, aren't they? Something to aim for.
Right. The only problem is, who are they going to put forth as a candidate?
This
because
is the problem.
For now, most political party and most of the people that were running, quote unquote, against Bouteflika in elections were people that were paid by the regime. So you need to build a political party. You need to build a civil society. This will not happen in 3 months. But there needs to be a figure that people can gather around and say, this man or this woman have not been tainted by the regime, they've not been corrupt, and they will leave when time comes for the elections to be held in a free and fair fashion.
How do the protesters find that so-called leader, I guess? I said that to an earlier guest. There's been no one person who's come out of this and been the person who's rallied the protesters on the ground. No one person that, they're holding up flags and banners with the name on. Where does that person come from?
Look, it will have to come either from the human rights, the NGO that have been very vocal in denouncing Bouteflika. Bouchachi is one of the men that the street respects a lot. But you have to build political credibility. I mean, running an NGO is not like running a country. So, as I said, it will have to come from within. But I think we're just at the premises of a major upheaval, but that will take a lot more demonstrations to basically get rid of the regime, because there's so much money at stake. And one thing that none of us has talked about is the influence of foreign powers.
Yes.
And a lot of people are very happy to have stability, whether it's Russia, whether it's the US, or whether it's France. The nightmarish scenario for them would be some kind of a position that they don't know that will be ruling the country. The army would lose power and would be less inclined to control security when it comes to terrorism with Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb and Islamic State. So President Macron of France and Putin are both very concerned about the transition and who comes after Bouteflika.
Olivier Guitta, good to have you with us. Thanks so much for your analysis of the situation. Let's leave you with, for the moment, these live pictures.